Tell me, are you familiar with that unpleasant, nagging sensation, itching? The kind that gives you no peace, day or night. Perhaps you blame it on dry skin, which, let's be honest, often comes with age, or maybe a new sweater or laundry detergent. But what if I told you that sometimes, especially after 60, this persistent itch in certain places isn't just a minor annoyance? What if it's a quiet signal from your wise body, trying to warn you about something much more serious? Imagine your body as a house where you've lived a long, full life. Suddenly, a light bulb in one of the rooms starts flashing insistently. You wouldn't just unscrew it, right? You'd investigate what's wrong. It's the same with itching. It can be that flashing light bulb indicating problems in your home's internal systems, perhaps issues with your liver, kidneys, thyroid gland, or even your blood sugar levels. Often, without realizing it, we worsen the situation through habits or products that seem harmless. For example, overly harsh soap that dries the skin out like parchment, or simply ignoring the body's signals, hoping it will go away on its own, like it might have long ago. But today, we're not here to scare you, quite the opposite. Together, we'll figure out which specific itchy signals deserve special attention and where they most often appear as warning signs. I promise that after our conversation, you'll understand your body better, be able to notice important signs in time, and potentially prevent serious problems, maintaining your vitality and well-being for years to come. All the advice will be simple and clear, because taking care of yourself shouldn't be complicated science. Stay with me until the end, and let's learn together to listen to our bodies with love and attention. So, where might these persistent signals appear? Let's start, perhaps, with the most general and sometimes most mysterious manifestation, when literally your whole body itches without any visible cause, like a rash or bites. This itching can be particularly intense at night, utterly exhausting you, depriving you of sleep and peace. What could this mean? Instead of just applying cream over and over, let's pause and think. Could our body be telling us that its internal cleaning systems are malfunctioning? Let me tell you the story of Arthur, 72 years old. Arthur had always been an active man, loved his garden, and never missed a walk with his grandchildren. But for the last 6 months, his life was overshadowed by a terrible, debilitating itch. He itched everywhere, his back, arms, legs, even his stomach. His skin seemed dry, but there was no rash, nothing specific. Getting old is no fun. Skin gets dry, he'd brush it off when his wife, Margaret, expressed concern. He seemed to have tried every cream from the pharmacy, from the simplest to the most expensive. But his sleep got worse, and Arthur himself became increasingly irritable. Once cheerful and sociable, he started avoiding gatherings. He was simply embarrassed to be constantly scratching in public. Inside, a mix of annoyance at this stupid itch and an underlying fear simmered. What if it was something serious? He caught himself reminiscing about his youth, his smooth skin, that feeling of unshakable health. Margaret, seeing her husband literally fading away, insisted on a doctor's visit. Arthur resisted. What am I going to tell him? That I itch? He'll think this old man has lost his mind. But Margaret was persistent, and he gave in. Imagine his surprise when tests revealed he had the early stages of chronic kidney disease. It turned out his kidneys weren't efficiently removing waste products anymore, and these substances, accumulating in his blood, were irritating nerve endings all over his skin. Imagine a clean river flowing towards powerful filters. These are your kidneys or liver. If the filters start to malfunction, get clogged, the river gradually becomes polluted. And this dirt, toxins, urea, bile acids, begins to penetrate everywhere, causing irritation, like a quiet but persistent alarm signal. That's what this all-over-body itch is. Arthur started treatment promptly. They adjusted his diet to support kidney function. The itching didn't disappear instantly, but it gradually began to subside. Most importantly, his energy returned, along with his former optimism. He was once again happily tending his roses and kicking a ball with his grandkids, no longer distracted by the torturous urge to scratch. What's the takeaway for you from this story? If you experience similar, widespread itching that doesn't improve with regular moisturizers, especially if it wakes you up at night, please don't ignore it. Replace the habit of enduring and applying lotion with the determination to investigate and find the cause. This could be your chance for early diagnosis and timely treatment of serious conditions, problems with the kidneys, liver, thyroid, or even certain blood disorders. Remember, a signal heard in time is an opportunity to preserve not only your health, but also your usual quality of life. And don't be afraid of seeming to bother the doctor with a trifle. Your well-being is definitely not a trifle. Arthur's story shows how important it is to pay attention to general signals. But sometimes, itching concentrates in specific areas, and this isn't random either. Let's talk about the legs now, especially the lower parts, the shins and ankles. Have you noticed that the skin there has become dry, somewhat irritated, constantly making you want to scratch it, especially towards the evening or after standing for a long time? Maybe it has even changed color slightly, becoming reddish-brown, or perhaps there's mild swelling. It's very easy to blame this on tired legs, uncomfortable shoes, or just the dry air indoors. But what if we try replacing this usual thought with another one? Could this be a signal that the circulation in the legs isn't quite right, or even that blood sugar levels need attention? Let's remember Eleanor, 68 years old. Eleanor had always been proud of her legs and loved wearing dresses and skirts, but for the past few months, her shins had started itching constantly. The skin became dry, flaky, and unpleasant to the touch. At first, she thought it was an allergy to new tights, or just winter dryness. She used baby cream, but the relief was short-lived. She felt uncomfortable wearing skirts and increasingly opted for trousers, as if hiding the problem. Inside Eleanor, annoyance and a slight fear grew. She didn't like these changes at all. She remembered how smooth and problem-free her legs used to be. She tried not to dwell on it, telling herself, "It'll pass." But the itching didn't pass, and she began to notice that her ankles were slightly swollen in the evening. A close friend once suggested she get her circulation checked. Eleanor was hesitant. There was no pain, just this nagging, irritating itch. But she made an appointment anyway. The examination revealed early signs of venous insufficiency. It turned out that blood was pooling in the veins of her legs, and this stagnation was causing irritation to the surrounding tissues, including the skin, manifesting as itching. Furthermore, a simple blood test showed slightly elevated blood sugar levels, which, as the doctor explained, can also worsen the condition of the skin and small blood vessels, contributing to dryness and itching. Imagine the road network in a big city. These are your blood vessels. If traffic jams constantly occur on some major highways, the veins in your legs, then traffic, blood, cannot move freely. This causes dissatisfaction in the surrounding areas. The skin, itching, swelling appear. The landscape, skin color, changes. And high blood sugar is like using poor quality fuel for all the city's transport. Over time, it damages the roads themselves, blood vessels, and the signaling system, nerve endings. Eleanor followed her doctor's recommendations. She started wearing compression stockings, which help the veins keep their shape, began doing simple exercises to improve blood flow in her legs, and slightly adjusted her diet to keep her sugar under control. And the results weren't long in coming. The itching significantly decreased, and the swelling disappeared. She happily wore her favorite dress again, and, most importantly, felt that lightness in her legs she had almost forgotten. What's the benefit for you from this story? If you suffer from persistent itching in the shin or ankle area, especially if it's accompanied by swelling, skin color changes, darkening, redness, or a feeling of heaviness and fullness in the legs, please don't postpone a visit to the doctor. Replace the habit of hiding the problem under trousers with actively finding out the cause. This is your chance to diagnose vein problems, venous insufficiency, prediabetes or diabetes, and sometimes even heart problems, which can also cause swelling and skin changes in the legs in a timely manner. Simple measures, compression hosiery, easy exercises, sugar control, can dramatically improve your well-being and prevent the development of serious complications, such as trophic ulcers, which are much harder to treat later. Take care of your legs. After all, they carry you through life every day. We've talked about the legs, where itching is often related to circulation or blood sugar levels. Now, let's move to other limbs, your hands and feet, specifically the palms and soles. Have you ever experienced a very strong, almost unbearable itch specifically in these areas? Not just a feeling of dryness, but an intense itch that might be accompanied by a sensation of heat, tingling, sometimes even redness, or the appearance of tiny, watery-looking blisters. This is quite a specific symptom, and it certainly shouldn't be ignored by blaming it on accidental contact with an irritant or just nerves. Let's try replacing the thought "I probably ate or touched something wrong" with the question, could my liver, or perhaps my immune system, be trying to send me a signal? Listen to the story of George, 75 years old. George is a man of strict logic, a former engineer used to finding the cause of everything. And then he started suffering from bouts of intense itching on his palms and soles, which worsened particularly at night, disrupting his sleep. He described the sensation as like thousands of red-hot needles pricking from the inside. His sleep was disturbed. He became irritable, withdrawn, avoided handshakes. His first thought was a fungal infection, and he bought seemingly every antifungal cream available. Then he blamed the soap, the gardening gloves, the laundry detergent, changing everything repeatedly. But the itching persisted. He felt completely helpless and angry at his own body for failing him in such a strange way. He was ashamed to admit this ridiculous problem to anyone. His wife persuaded him to see a dermatologist, but the doctor just shrugged, suggesting some unclear allergy. However, there was no relief. Finally, their family doctor, after listening to his complaints, ordered a comprehensive blood chemistry panel for George, and that's where the cause was found. The results showed elevated liver enzymes and, crucially, bile acids. It turned out George had problems with bile outflow from his liver, a condition called cholestasis, and it was the accumulation of these bile salts in his blood that caused this agonizing, specific itching on the palms and soles of his feet. Imagine your liver as a complex chemical factory, and bile as one of its important but quite caustic products, which should be carefully drained through special pipelines, bile ducts, into the intestine. If these ducts, for some reason, narrow, become clogged, or don't work properly, the product starts to accumulate and leak where it shouldn't, into the bloodstream. And the skin of the palms and soles is somehow particularly sensitive to these bile acids, reacting with severe itching. It's as if the warning lights on your car's, body's, dashboard, signaling problems with the engine, liver, lit up specifically on the steering wheel, hands, and pedals, feet. George was prescribed medications to help improve bile flow and advised to follow a specific diet gentle on the liver. The itching gradually began to subside, nights became calmer, and his usual balanced mood returned. He often said later how important it was not to give up and to get to the root of the problem. What does this mean for you? If you are bothered by persistent, severe itching, specifically on the palms and/or soles of your feet, which doesn't seem like ordinary dryness, allergy, or fungus, please take this signal very seriously. Replace self-treatment and endless guessing with a consultation with a doctor and necessary tests, primarily blood biochemistry with liver function indicators. This could be an early sign of liver disease, like primary biliary cholangitis, gallbladder problems, or even certain autoimmune disorders. A timely diagnosis and initiated treatment will not only help get rid of the exhausting itch, but also, more importantly, prevent the development of more serious and irreversible liver problems. Your hands and feet can be important indicators of your internal health. Listen to them carefully. We've discussed itching that might be related to internal organs like the kidneys or liver. But sometimes, itching has a completely different nature and follows a very clear route. Have you noticed itching that is localized in a specific area, often like an elongated strip, and occurs only on one side of the body? For example, on the side under the ribs, or along an arm, or down a leg. This itching might be accompanied by unusual sensations, burning, tingling, pins and needles, and sometimes even pain. A rash might be present, or it might be completely absent. It's very easy to think it's just an insect bite you didn't notice, or maybe your clothes rubbed you the wrong way there. But let's try replacing this simple thought with a deeper hypothesis. Could this be related to a nerve that runs specifically through this area? Let's remember Margaret, 65 years old. She started experiencing a strange, very persistent itch on her left side, roughly at the level of her lower ribs. No visible rash, no redness, nothing. At first, she thought maybe a mosquito had bitten her unnoticed, or a new blouse was rubbing, or the elastic from her underwear. The itch would subside a little, then return with renewed intensity, making it hard to concentrate on tasks, causing inexplicable anxiety. She tried applying soothing creams to the area, but the effect was very short-lived. Inside, Margaret's anxiety grew. What was this? Why did it itch specifically here and only on one side? She suddenly remembered that several years ago she had shingles, or herpes zoster as doctors call it, in roughly the same area. But back then, there was also the characteristic blistering rash and quite severe pain. Could this be related somehow? She decided to share her concerns with her family doctor. The doctor listened carefully, examined her, and suggested it might be post-herpetic neuralgia. It turns out that the herpes virus, even after the rash and acute pain have subsided, can leave behind damaged nerve endings. And these damaged nerves start sending incorrect, chaotic signals to the brain, which are perceived as itching, burning, or pain, even if the skin looks perfectly fine. Another possible cause, the doctor explained, could be a pinched nerve root exiting the spine at that level. Imagine an electrical wire, that's your nerve, running from the fuse box, spinal cord, to a light bulb, a specific area of skin. If the insulation on this wire is damaged, like after shingles, or the wire itself is pinched somewhere, for example in the spine, it can start to spark, sending erratic signals. The brain receives these signals and interprets them as itching, pain, burning, or tingling, specifically in the place where that wire leads. That's why such sensations often occur along the path of a nerve and only on one side of the body. Margaret was prescribed special medications that act specifically on the nervous system, helping to calm these false signals. And she felt significantly better. She stopped constantly thinking about the itch, fiddling with her side, and could finally return calmly to her favorite activities, reading and knitting. What's the benefit for you from this story? If you notice itching that is clearly localized in a specific area, runs like a strip, and is only on one side of the body, especially if it's accompanied by unusual sensations like burning, tingling, or shooting pain, be sure to see a doctor, perhaps a neurologist. Replace the assumption of just irritation with a targeted search for a cause related to the nervous system. It could be the aftermath of long-ago shingles, even if you've almost forgotten about it. A sign of spinal problems, like osteochondrosis, a herniated disc, or other neurological conditions. A correct diagnosis will allow for adequate treatment, which might not be ordinary painkillers or allergy medications, but specific drugs, and rid you of a distressing symptom that can seriously poison your life. Don't endure nerve-related itching. Seek help and relief. We've talked about itching on the body, legs, hands, along nerves. What about the head? Of course, mild itching and dandruff are quite common. But what if the scalp itch becomes simply unbearable, constant, prevents sleep, and no anti-dandruff shampoos, even the most advertised and expensive ones, bring relief? What if the skin under the hair becomes red, covered with thick scales, dry crusts, or, conversely, weeping patches? It's easy to fall into despair, start feeling self-conscious about your hair, or blame it all on chronic stress. But let's try replacing the thought, "I just have terrible, unbeatable dandruff," with the question, could something more serious than common seborrhea be hiding behind the symptom, perhaps a systemic disease? Here's the story of David, 70 years old. David had always been a neat person, took care of his appearance, always with a perfect hairstyle. But the last year of his life turned into torture because of an unbearable scalp itch. The skin under his hair literally burned, itching so intensely that he would scratch it until it bled during the night. He seemed to have tried every medicated shampoo that exists, some folk remedies like herbal decoctions. Nothing provided lasting effect. Relief was only temporary. He became embarrassed to go to his barber, started wearing a cap more often, even indoors, to hide the problem. He felt terribly unkempt, depressed, somehow inadequate. His wife saw his suffering, but he just brushed it off. It's just bad dandruff acting up, it'll pass. But deep down, he was afraid. What if he was losing hair because of this? Or was it a sign of some internal illness? Finally, he overcame his reluctance and went to a dermatologist. The doctor examined his scalp very carefully, asked many questions, and diagnosed him with scalp psoriasis. It turned out to be an autoimmune disease where skin cells divide and renew at a frantic pace, causing inflammation, the formation of dense, silvery scales, and very intense itching. The doctor also explained that psoriasis can sometimes be linked to the body's overall condition, such as metabolic syndrome or high stress levels. Imagine your scalp is a well-kept lawn. Normally, old grass, skin cells, dies off and is replaced by new grass at a specific, calm rhythm. But with psoriasis or severe chronic inflammation, this process gets out of control. It's as if weeds started growing at incredible speed, crowding out the normal grass, creating unevenness, dry patches, and causing constant discomfort and itching on your lawn. David was prescribed special treatment. These were no longer just shampoos, but medicated lotions containing corticosteroids to reduce inflammation, products with tar and salicylic acid to exfoliate the crusts. The doctor also recommended he pay attention to his diet and try to avoid stress. Gradually, not immediately, the itching began to subside, the inflammation and redness decreased, and the amount of scaling reduced. He could go without a cap again, and his former self-confidence returned. What's the benefit for you from this story? If you are plagued by severe persistent scalp itching that doesn't respond to regular over-the-counter or pharmacy anti-dandruff shampoos, if you see significant redness, thick scales, crusts, or weeping, please don't self-treat endlessly. Replace buying yet another miracle shampoo with a visit to a dermatologist or a hair specialist, a trichologist. It could be psoriasis, which can appear at any age, a severe form of seborrheic dermatitis, a stubborn fungal infection, or even rarer skin or neurological conditions. Only an accurate diagnosis will allow for the selection of the correct, sometimes quite specific treatment that will finally bring you long-awaited relief and restore comfort. Your head and your hair deserve professional care. And finally, we've arrived at perhaps the most delicate topic, one that many are embarrassed to discuss, even with their most trusted doctor. We're talking about itching in the intimate area, around the anus or genitals. How many people, especially at our age, endure this agonizing discomfort for months, even years? It seems like something shameful, surely related to inadequate hygiene, and admitting it means admitting to being unclean. But in reality, my dear friends, there can be a great many causes for such itching, and insufficient, or conversely, excessive, hygiene is only one of them, and far from the most common. Let's try to replace that paralyzing feeling of shame and the habit of suffering in silence with a common sense understanding. This is a medical problem that requires attention and resolution, just like joint pain or high blood pressure. Let's remember Barbara, 69 years old. She faced a terrible, exhausting itch in the perianal area, around the anus. This itch prevented her from sitting normally, kept her awake at night, and poisoned her entire life. She felt incredibly awkward, didn't dare tell anyone about her problem, not even her husband. She tried various creams from the pharmacy, for hemorrhoids, baby creams, antifungal creams. The effect was either zero or very brief. She changed soaps, toilet paper, washed herself sometimes more often, sometimes less often. Nothing helped. She started avoiding long trips, visits to friends, even just long walks, because she feared sudden bouts of itching when it was impossible to resist scratching. Inside her, burning shame and complete despair battled. She wistfully recalled a time when she felt comfortable and free in her own body. Finally, after another panic attack and tears, she overcame her embarrassment, and during an appointment with her gynecologist for another reason, decided to talk about her problem. The doctor was very understanding and tactful, asked clarifying questions, and took necessary swabs. And the cause was found quite quickly. It turned out that Barbara had a chronic fungal infection, candidiasis, which is quite common in postmenopausal women due to hormonal changes and a natural decline in local immunity. Furthermore, a blood test showed her blood sugar was slightly elevated, which also creates a favorable environment for fungal growth. Imagine that this delicate area of your body is a very sensitive barometer reacting to the slightest changes in your internal state. Disruption of the fragile balance of local microflora, e.g., uncontrolled growth of fungi or bacteria, age-related hormonal changes, increased blood sugar levels, skin diseases that can also manifest here, like eczema or psoriasis, even severe stress, or taking certain medications, like antibiotics, all of this can cause a real storm in the form of agonizing itching. Additionally, purely local problems can be the cause: hemorrhoids, anal fissures, contact dermatitis from hygiene products, or even, in very rare cases, more serious diseases that can also start with itching. Barbara was prescribed a course of antifungal suppositories and a special cream, and also received recommendations on diet to normalize her sugar levels and on proper hygiene, not too aggressive, and the itch that had tormented her for so long passed quite quickly. She felt immense relief, not only physical, but also emotional. The only thing she regretted was suffering for so long because of false shame and fear. What's the benefit for you from this story? If you are bothered by persistent, nagging itching in the intimate area, genitals, anal region, please do not suffer in silence and do not self-medicate randomly, trying everything. Replace embarrassment with active self-care and be sure to consult a doctor. Depending on the location and accompanying symptoms, this could be a gynecologist, urologist, proctologist, or initially, your family doctor. In the vast majority of cases, the cause of such itching is easily diagnosed and successfully treated. It could be infections, fungal, bacterial, dermatitis, allergic reactions, consequences of age-related dryness of mucous membranes, atrophic vaginitis or urethritis, hemorrhoids, or other conditions. By seeking help in time, you will not only get rid of the tormenting symptom, but also prevent possible complications, and most importantly, regain comfort, peace of mind, and confidence. Your health and your mental well-being are much more important than any embarrassment. So today, we've talked about some rather specific itchy signals that our body might send us, especially once we've passed a certain age milestone. Remember, my dears, persistent itching isn't always just itching. Sometimes it's an important messenger that needs to be listened to attentively, not shooed away. Your body is your most faithful friend and companion throughout your long life. It possesses incredible wisdom and the ability to signal problems long before something serious happens. Listen to it with respect and trust. Your rich life experience, your intuition honed over the years, these are invaluable tools for understanding yourself. You have the full, inalienable right to feel good, to be comfortable, to enjoy movement and social interaction at any age. Please don't brush off signals that seem unusual, persistent, or just not right. Replacing the habit of ignoring, enduring, or being embarrassed with attentive, caring self-regard is not a sign of weakness or hypochondria, but rather immense inner strength and true life wisdom. Don't be afraid to seek help from specialists, ask questions, search for answers until you find them. You deserve the very best care, and above all, care for yourselves. Believe in your strength, trust your body, and may every day be filled with health, peace, and small joys. Be healthy and happy.